Welcome to the Circuit of Success Podcast.
The Circuit of Success Podcast.
With your host,
Brett
Gilliland.
Brett Gilliland, Visionary Wealth Advisory.
The Circuit of Success Podcast. Let's start the show.
Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I'm your host, Brett Gilliland. Today I've got Kevin Anderson with me. Kevin, what's going on, my man?
Not much. Very happy to be here. Thank you.
You're out in the area of Boston. I'm here in St. Louis. Thankfully, you're not a Red Sox fan because you beat the Cardinals twice, but you're a Blue Jays fan, so you had a heck of a run this year. That was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, heartbreaker, but a great journey all the way there. So, at the start of the season, if you told me we'd be in a Game 7 to win the World Series, sign me up.
Yep, absolutely. Good stuff. Well, you were born in Canada and now live in Boston and have businesses all around. So that's a lot of fun stuff we get to talk about today. But before, like I do with every guest, is what has helped make you the man you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, it's a stereotypical answer, but definitely, my family, parents, the way I was raised, with good values, respect for other people, really putting, love and kindness at the forefront of everything you do. I think that's definitely been a guiding light for me throughout my life. Yeah.
And were you always an entrepreneur? Because I know you have a lot of businesses and stay very active with those. And so is that something you've just always done, or what drew you to that?
No, not at all. I mean, I grew up on a small farm in the middle of nowhere in Alberta, where minus 40 for weeks at a time is typical in the winter. And my parents would experiment with some things, but it was mostly related to they had little ventures, like they got into trying to raise and sell African pygmy hedgehogs, and we had a bunch of different animals. We must have had 10 or 12 different kinds of animals, between rabbits and pheasants and different things. We even had a deer farm. So they would experiment with that, but it was very small scale. And I think, I think where I got the entrepreneurial spirit was probably more from my grandfather, who was he grew up he was in Chicago, and he had a couple of businesses and was always buying and selling different things and experimenting with stuff. And, his passion for business was really a love for experiencing, right? Like just recognizing opportunities, getting excited about solving problems and jumping into it without even, knowing what he was really going to do or having an experience, and just learning on the go. And I definitely have that in me, where it's just recognizing interesting things or getting excited about different things that I'm learning, and then, figuring out ways that I can be involved and solve problems and make a business out of it. So, I never, I didn't think I was going to go this path though. I thought I was going to be a teacher. I thought I was going to be a professor. I was definitely in the academic trajectory. But I just couldn't help myself. I started a tutoring business while I was in grad school, and it started to take off. And I've just been doing different entrepreneurial pursuits ever since.
Yeah. So basically since college, you've literally just worked for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a bunch of different jobs. I mean, I worked on the oil rigs. I did tree planting. I did all kinds of stuff. I even guided hunts, like in northern Canada, for moose and bear. I did a bunch of different jobs, but it was all before I was, by the time I was 24, I think, that's when I started my first company. And then I never worked for anyone ever again.
Yeah. And I know you do real estate stuff and some other things we can talk about later, but talk about Kevin Anderson and Associates. What is it that you guys do? Give a little taste to the audience of what it is you do and how you've lived your life and the types of people that you're serving and helping.
Yeah, so Kevin Anderson Associates, KAA, it's the preeminent book writing firm in the world. We have offices in New York, in LA, and in London. We work with authors or aspiring authors, anyone who wants a book or is in the process of writing a book. We can help them with writing their book, getting it to an agent or a publisher, and helping them achieve whatever goals they have for their book. We do about 500 books a year. Our in-house team is all former publishing executives and best-selling authors. I mean, we have Brene Brown's executive editor on our team. We have agents that have, some of our clients include I'm not sure if you know Five Nights at Freddy's. It was a #1 New York Times bestseller. It's like a phenomenon. It's been a big movie. But we also work with fiction, but then we also do a lot of nonfiction, working with a lot of entrepreneurs and successful business people, a bunch of billionaires, just sharing their wisdom with with the world. So so that's we do ghostwriting, but we also do book coaching, just anything related to helping someone tell their story or share their message with the world.
Yeah. We were talking before we hit record, and we were talking about just different like Airbnb businesses and stuff like that. And you made a comment, and you said it's basically whatever we're going to do, we want it to be the best that it can be, right? The best thing possible. And I wrote that down because I really connect with that. Is like, if you're going to do something, man, do it and do it right? Do it right the first time. And to talk about that philosophy for you and how that's helped you be successful in your companies, but also how you're helping other people become successful through that philosophy.
Yeah, great question. And, it's in some ways I just find it's actually just more simple. I mean, it's really hard to find this balance of being really efficient and finding that middle ground and being something that's not at the top level but not the bottom, and really nailing the middle ground. I mean, that sounds really nebulous to me. I find it's a more simple equation to just say, okay, well, what's the very best? Who's the very best writer that we can find? Who's the best editor that we can get on these projects? What's the absolute best outcome that a book can have? And let's build whatever processes or systems or people, especially the people, to make that happen. So that wasn't always the vision. When I first started, and a lot of the whole company, it was never a grand vision. It was all about recognizing opportunities and jumping on them. It was a tutoring company that became an editing company. At the beginning, we were definitely not at the very top. I mean, you can't necessarily always start there unless you have like a big investment or something like that. But we didn't take loans. We didn't have investors. It was all self-started, and we just grew organically from there into an 8-figure annual revenue business. But it was always just recognizing what our clients needed, what they were really wanting, and then making sure that we could supply that. And just, it's all about, okay, you can put that together, you got to price that out, and then you got to charge enough that you're making a profit on it. And so we just kind of grew organically from then. I mean, when we started out, our product, the service that we were selling, and this is over 10 years ago. The service we were selling was about $10,000 to $15,000 per book. Now the same service of course, it's not the same service. There's a lot more to it, a much higher, higher level product. But now we're selling the same general service is now $300,000 to $500,000 per book. So we've just scaled it up over the years organically, but all along the way.
When you say, sorry to interrupt, so you're saying that this billionaire comes to you and says, I want to get my story out. What are my messages? Everything you guys from soup to nuts, it's $300,000, $500,000 for that person to go out and write a book and become a best-selling author and all the things that you got to do.
Right. Yeah. If it's like soup to nuts, everything, our lowest package is going to be around 100,000, but a typical package is going to be in the 250 to 500 range. And there's a lot to it, right? I mean, you're getting a best-selling author, you're getting an editor that's worked with the likes of Seth Godin or Simon Sinek, that's going to be working with you through the whole process. You're going to have multiple layers of editing. We do beta testing. I mean, we've really tried to add all kinds of different services that are valuable, like nothing that's fluff, like everything that's really going to help make for the best book and help the author achieve their goals for the book. But we've really integrated a whole system into that process to make sure that to give them the best chance of achieving exactly that.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. So talk about that now again. So whether you're building a business to help people write books, or you're a wealth management firm or a law firm or a manufacturing company, talk about, again, betting on yourself, believing in yourself, and taking risk and hiring the best people out there to make the business happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. So, my skill set was never in writing. Like I had never written a book. I didn't know how to write a book. That was not my skill set. I was, it kind of came, I had an opportunity. It was all about jumping on opportunities. The first book we ever did came to us because it was a company, it was a book publishing company. They came to us because they saw that we had a whole bunch of Ivy League people on our team that were doing editing and tutoring, and they figured that we could edit a book if we were all these English majors, right? They thought that they really needed better copy editors. We had never edited a book before, but instead of saying no, we don't do that, I said, yeah, of course we can do that. And then I took the responsibility for the outcome, but I went and made sure that I found a really great book editor that could edit the book, sold the service, delivered the service to the client, and took a profit on the difference. And that was really a guiding principle throughout, was just never say no to opportunity. Recognize opportunity, say yes. And as long as I can figure out how to solve the problem or find the right people to do it for me. And I can, a lot of people in our industry, a lot of talented people, talented writers, editors, they don't know how to sell themselves. So as long as I can sell them and then get them the work and make sure that I'm just charging more than what I'm paying, then everybody wins. And so that was really the genesis of the company. I mean, now we have, 35 in-house staff, several hundred, contractors that we work with regularly. But initially it was just me selling other people and taking a profit off it.
Yeah. So what makes you want to do that, right? So, and the reason I ask that is it wouldn't it just be a lot easier to just go get a nice job and some benefits and all that stuff? And I'm saying it with a smile because it's, as a business owner, right? We take a lot of risk, man, and it's something that comes with passion. And so where do you find that passion that comes in and day out to go out and quote unquote sell somebody else's story for them?
Yeah. Just love solving problems, right? I just love helping people. I love solving problems. I love seeing, someone that, and maybe this goes back to my love for teaching. I just love to give knowledge and to help people understand the things that they didn't know before. And so for me, entrepreneurship was all about solving problems and helping people achieve their goals and dreams, and people coming to me with a need and just being able to help serve that need and resolve their pain points and achieve their goals. I mean, there's just so much satisfaction that goes into helping people in ways that can't help themselves. And the fact that I like a lot of entrepreneurs, the money was never the driving factor. I mean, it was something you always have to, obviously you have to be responsible with it, and making a profit is all part of it. But the driving factor was always solving the problem, and making sure and figuring out how I could do that in a way that and how to sell it in a way that would get more clients and more customers. And that part was always exciting too, was just figuring out, hey, we can solve these problems. Now, how do we find more people that have the same problem and help them too? And that kind of marketing element and scaling that part was a really fun and exciting part of growing the company.
Yeah, one of the things I was excited to talk about today is AI, and there's a lot of good that comes from it, and there's a lot of scary things that come from it. But also one of my concerns is you have these writers out here now, and all these articles and different things. Like the days of literally the writer getting down and writing a good article or writing a good book, I think they're still obviously going to be around, right? But what role is AI playing in your world now that wasn't 5 and 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's a great question. AI hasn't affected our business negatively, at least our company. We've had our best year ever this year, and we've been on a growth trend the last 3 years, despite AI. In a lot of our service, we've really positioned ourselves in contrast to AI. AI only draws from what's already in the slush pile. It's not original. It's not unique. It doesn't have a real unique voice or edges to it. And our job is really about finding that unique story. AI is not a good interviewer. AI is, you lead the interview yourself with AI. So you're in an echo chamber. We're really about finding the real story that the author doesn't even necessarily know is there. And AI can't look in your eyes and see that you're holding back and know to wait till the next moment when you're vulnerable to pounce on that and draw it out, or when to go for it right then in that moment. So that's just something that AI can't replicate that we do as writers and editors. However, that said, AI has definitely had an impact on the industry as a whole. for people who just want to write a generic book about, how to build, how to build a car sales company. AI can write a boring generic book on that doesn't draw from your personal experiences or what really makes you unique. It can do that quite easily. So a lot of the bottom of the industry, I think, has been completely taken out by this. But we're not anti-AI. I try to utilize AI as much as I can into our process and systems. We just don't use it for writing original work.
Right.
There's also issues with like legality, right? Like AI is drawing from existing published content without citing it or paying the authors for it. So there are issues with just original content and paying authors for using that content. So there's bigger issues than just whether it's a good book or not.
That's a good point, man. I've never thought it'd be like me stealing your song, right? If you were an artist, I can't steal your song and go do something with it, but I can certainly steal your stuff from your book, can't I? I mean, that's basically what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And music is, it's interesting with music too. I mean, some of the songs that AI is putting together is pretty impressive. So we're going to have to deal with a lot of this stuff, especially when it comes to copyright and who owns, where this is all coming from. But yeah, it's an issue that for now, like, we're very squarely not, like, we don't develop any original content with AI. That's all going to be human developed. But we'll use it. I mean, we'll use it to toss around titles, help us come up with a better title. We'll use it for our processes, to help us be more efficient in how we operate as a company. We're definitely want to use it any way we can. But when it comes to developing an original piece of literature, then we don't. It just doesn't do that.
Yeah, that's great. Talk about the creative side for you. What do you do? What is your process to be creative, whether that's thinking of a business, growing your business, investing in your business? For me, it's my black journal and myself and an ink pen an hour and a half a week and just thinking and dreaming. I call it strategic think time. What is that like for you to where you get those creative juices flowing?
Yeah, there's a couple different things. I like to get, sometimes it's, I think some of the mistakes that especially someone with like me with ADHD, like some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs like myself come up is you're always trying to get input all the time, which can be really good. Like, reading audiobooks, podcasts, I can get a lot of inspiration from that. But the best times is when I'm quiet, so maybe I'll just do a bike ride, and take the AirPods out and just, let the kind of ideas come to me, in the quiet space, or a walk through the woods, go hiking and just kind of just be alone with my own thoughts. That's something that doesn't come naturally to me. I have to set that time apart to make sure that I'm going and doing that. Because most of my days is just input. It's just constant noise, and a ton of ideas and creative processes happen with all that noise. But I always find that it's so important and grounding to just kind of shut that off for a moment, and that's when the real kind of bigger ideas come.
Yeah, it's true, man, because that's why I find my strategic think time is so valuable. And I do the same thing on walks. I try to go on walks without my AirPods in and just let the brain go and flow, right? And things, it's amazing what you think about when you're out on a walk. And but that strategic think time on the calendar has been a big deal for over 20 years now. And it's helped me create a lot of stuff, right? A lot of businesses, a lot of ideas, grow our business and stuff. So I'm always curious from leaders on what they learn there. But talk about the days you don't want to do it, right? The days you maybe just like, I don't want to do this crap, right? Like, what do you do, and what's that process like for you?
Yeah. So for me, that happens in waves. It'll be like a couple months where it's like every day is a grind. And then the next couple months, it'll be, I can't stop, it's like, I have to like set my alarm to make sure that I'm stopping and trying to shut off my brain. And so when it gets to those times where it's just like, where it just feels like pulling teeth, usually I go to, I have a list I have a list of all the things that I want to do. And on the very top of the list, I have a list of 5 things that are most important to me. They're kind of reflections. They change slightly over time, but they're always there on the very top of my, like it's a Google Doc, and it's got everything in it and links to it's basically my whole life is in this Google Doc, between the links to other docs and whatnot. Yeah. But at the very top are like five reflections of things that are important to me. That helps kind of usually reset my mindset. And then honestly, a lot of times it's just shut up and do it. Just grind. And usually what happens is once I start grinding and just going through the motions, going through the next thing, even if it doesn't feel good or I'm not really feeling it at the moment, within a half hour, 45 minutes or something, eventually I'll get caught. Like I'll come upon something that excites me again, and then I'll get that momentum, and then that'll carry me through the rest of the day. But sometimes that first 20 minutes or half an hour will just be, you're just forcing yourself to go through it and do what you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the power of a routine. Don't you think?
Yeah. My routine is very dialed in. So, yeah. I mean, every morning clock, 4:30 alarm goes off. I don't do any, I go right from my bed to my computer. There's nothing, well, might go to the bathroom or something in between, but it's just really get up, go right to it. I find the easiest way for me to kind of get into a flow is to just get right to my emails, because they just engage the brain right away. Usually they're relevant. I've got my emails and my communication kind of hierarchy to a point now where most of the emails that I get are from, are from my team, and it's usually something that's interesting or exciting. But I just kind of start there, and that's where I get my initial momentum. And then I do that until about 7:00, and then at 7:00, and these transitions are actually the hardest for me. And as a father, I'm sure that you kind of can relate. It's the transition between work and just really being focused and dialed in, and then going to like something completely different, like being with my 4 kids or my wife. And I value both so much, but transition between the two and not carrying the weight of one into the other is always a challenge. Yeah. So I really try to schedule my time of when I detach from work and go into something else. So at 7:00, my alarm goes off, and I go and get up the kids. I make them breakfast. I've done this for 15 years in a row. That's how old my daughter is, my oldest. And I make them breakfast, and I have that time with them in the morning, and get them ready for school. And my wife, sometimes she'll come down, sometimes she won't, but that's really like my time to just really be with the kids, get them going. It's an hour of just me and them, walk them to the bus, and then usually my transition is get an hour workout in. I try to do this every single day. And I think, and it's so important because, again, if I don't have it scheduled in, it's just not going to happen, because I'm just going to, the wheels are just going to keep turning, and I'm just going to do my business activities nonstop if I don't have that scheduled in. Yep. And it's just like anything else, like you're saying with a routine, like the first couple of times, like when I'm transitioning back into having like that daily workout schedule, it's like, it feels like you're just pulling teeth. Like it feels like just the opposite of what, like your whole body is saying no. Right. But then after a couple of days that you're doing that every day, then you almost need it. Like you almost can't, it ingrains itself into your brain. And then it just becomes something that, if something happens where I miss it, then I'm, my body and brain are telling me, hey, we got to really plug this in somewhere. Like I feel like something's missing. So anyway, that the power of scheduling that in every day at 5, alarm goes off, I'm done. On the weekends, I work usually in the morning, just to get up so early, and there's just nothing happening. But as soon as the kids are up, then boom, I try to detach.
You're dead. Yeah.
It wasn't always like that. I mean, that's definitely coming, it's been, I have teams set up. We have, we're in a better situation. Like obviously when I was first starting out, it wasn't like that. I also didn't have kids at that time.
Right.
But, then it was a lot more, I had to do, just like any entrepreneur, there was plenty of of Saturdays where all of a sudden I had to save a project, save a client, and I was working all day. Thankfully those days are kind of behind me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. What's interesting, I love that. Thank you for sharing all that. It's I think it gives our listeners the kind of an eye into what's going on in your day and to be successful, right? And it's what I find in there. It's cool because you're taking care of yourself, right? You're taking care of your kids and you're spending that time with them because it goes fast, doesn't it? I mean, it's like my oldest is a sophomore in college now, and it's like, man alive, where did that go? And you just had him back for a week for Thanksgiving, and now he's back to college, right? And so it's like, gosh darn. But I think it's funny because I'm a little different in my routine. Is I spend what I call it Focus 90. The first 90 minutes of the day is focused on me getting things done for me. And whether that's selfish or not, is what I find is when I jump to email immediately, now I'm trying to solve everybody else's problems, right? And then the day can be taken and go one way or the other way. And so what I found is I would be productive throughout the day, but I wasn't like super productive. And then what I found is when I focused on reading 10 pages in the morning, getting my exercise in, meditating, right? Doing those things before I even look at my phone, it was awesome. And so now that's the habit. And so the reason I tell you that is I think it's cool for our listeners as well is there's a million ways to do it, but find your way and do that. And then what I like to say is be boringly consistent. You just show up and do your thing every day. Like you just rattle it off because it's the same thing. You consistently do it day in and day out. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think the key is to really make sure you're taking that time. You're doing it right away in the morning. And yeah, I can totally see how if it's not scheduled in, for me, it's not gonna happen because I'll just immediately I'll just go with the wind, right? And it's just whatever is coming up, I'm just going with it. So yeah, so I mean, and that's it's an important thing in terms of how you structure and plan how you do your tasks in general, because it's very easy to get caught up in doing a whole bunch of small little tasks that aren't actually moving the needle for you and your company, especially if your goal is growth or you're looking to to increase revenue for your company. So many times business owners or entrepreneurs, they're getting caught up in all the little things that you feel busy, but you're actually not attacking the bigger items that are going to help move your business, leverage you. Like a lot of companies and business owners that get caught in that $1 or $2 million a year business because they can't let go and let other people, leverage other people and systems to handle all the little things. So like being strategic in how you are approaching your day in general is just really key, not just to make sure you have personal time and take care of your body, but also what kind of tasks are you focusing on your business? Because it's easy to stay busy. There's a million different things to do in any company, but making sure that you're focusing on the things that are helping you leverage and grow and create. Well, I mean, whatever your goal is, if it's to have financial freedom, if it's to grow your company, but focusing on things that are bigger leverage items and making sure you're doing that regularly and structuring that is really important.
Yeah. Talk about planning and how important that is with you and your team and even you individually or your family. For example, yesterday we took our executive team off-site. We go to the Four Seasons in St. Louis. We do it every quarter. So it's a beautiful lobby, right? You got the arch behind you. It's glass. It's just beautiful. And that for us is a way to work on the business, not in the business, because you roll up your sleeves every day, you get to work. So do you do anything like that with your team to go off site? And if so, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we do a couple different things. So our team is mostly, like, a lot of team is in New York, but most of them, there's a bunch that are from all over the country. And then of course we have our team in the UK as well. But not all of them, most of them work from home offices and are working and not going to like, some go to the office every day, but most are working from home offices. And so and this has always been the way for us. And we meet with our clients and teams in person at our offices or in their homes or places of business. But for the most part, our team is relatively isolated. So this is not necessarily, this is something you have to account for, right? And it's really important for the people to get together in real life, and really have those those in-person experiences to see each other in 3D, and really see each other's humanity, because it's so easy to get caught on the digital platform and see, you don't really see the full person. You don't really get to know somebody in the same way, even if you're talking with them every single day.
Yeah.
So not sure if this is a direct answer to your question, but we do get the team together. We do corporate retreats where we all get together, and it's a mix. It's a mix of just hanging out and being together, and playing games, having fun, doing we do a big Trivial Pursuit night, or we do whatever it is. We try to just stuff that's just geared to create bonds with each other and get to know each other better. And then we'll have stuff that's more like team building and stuff to do with who we are as a team and how we can function better together. We do that once a year, and it's a kind of a big multi-night event. And we're bringing in people from England, from all over the United States. So it's a bigger kind of a retreat. But then we have smaller groups that we get together with regularly. Sometimes these are on like a conference. We'll go to a conference, we'll put a team together, and then we'll make sure that we're always carving out time at the conference to just have our team together to just connect with each other.
Yeah.
And then just every once in a while, especially in New York, we'll get the teams together again. Yeah. Our focus on those times, though, it might be unique for our company compared to others, just because we are working so remotely, that we find that we really emphasize just connecting with each other during that time, rather than trying to put some kind of workshop or something like that. I mean, we do those, but that's the priority for us when we get together, is really to connect and just really see each other in 3 dimensions.
Love it. Talk about the art or the magic of thinking big, if you will. And the reason I'm asking that is we talked about your place in Italy, and how we talked about Airbnbs and different things like that. And then you talked about the retreat there. Talk about that and just kind of give a picture of again, our minds. We're whether we're working out right now or you're driving down the road, I think you got to let your mind go places of what's possible, right? And that's this whole future greater than your past. That's our mission. So talk about your place, what it means to you, how we think bigger, and go on from there.
Yeah, I think that gets back to just allowing yourself to dream, I guess, and think, and just be creative and imaginative with what possibilities are out there. So, the villa in Italy. So there's a villa in Italy it's a vineyard in Olive Grove. It's a 1,000-year-old villa. It's a property that I acquired as as a vacation rental, also, but. Part of the vision for quickly, was to really integrate this into a big way with the firm. So I guess, never would have even thought of this being a potential, 5 years ago, this wasn't even on the vision board, right? 2 years ago, this wasn't on the vision board,
right?
But it just kind of dawned on me at one point, and that just, this would be a really cool thing to do, something that can be self-sustaining, so that, it doesn't depend on our company having writers retreats or anything at this villa, because we do these writers retreats where we bring in a best-selling author, a literary agent, and a publisher, and they all, it's a small group, like 5-6 aspiring writers that get together with this team, and they spend a week there, and it's all inclusive, and it's workshops, and they connect, but they also do a lot of training and stuff to just explore themselves as writers and whatnot. But like I said, this was not on the vision board. There was never a thought. It was never part of the plan, and it just kind of was one of those light bulb moments where I was like, what, this would be a really cool idea. We could put a villa together that would be self-sustaining, so that it could, when we're not using it, it would have its own rental situation. But it would be this thing that our team could use. So we also use it in other ways. So all of our in-house management team, they all get a week at the villa as part of their benefits for being a part of this company. So it becomes this value add that is more than just, a business opportunity on its own. It's something that's really adding value to my team. It's added a whole new service that we can offer to our clients. And it was one of those things that just kind of came in, just kind of thinking big, thinking creatively, thinking about all the different opportunities. And just, a lot of times I think, people, when an idea comes in their head, they think it's impossible. They think it can't happen. They think it'd be too much work. It was a ton of work, honestly, to acquire the villa and go through all of the things with acquiring a foreign property, especially one that's that old, because there's a lot of regulations in Italy about ancient properties like this. So it was a big deal. Like, it took a ton of work, but just I think when you get this idea and these inspiration, I think it's I think just giving yourself the freedom to explore it and really kind of jump in and really, there's so much that's possible if you just really kind of put your heart and mind into it. And, and same with our firm, just, I guess the question is, that you had was thinking big, thinking about opportunities. And, that's been kind of a guiding light for our company throughout, is just always thinking about ways that we can, be better as a company, service that we can offer that improves our product, a way that we can operate that gives the customer a better experience and really elevates, having the ability to plan your book and go to Italy for a week with your team is just one more way that we can serve our clients and give them a really unique experience that they can't find anywhere else. Yeah. And, the Unreasonable Hospitality is that book is it's an awesome book. It's one of our core texts, and just, it's really about giving your customer will not remember all the little details about the contract or possibly even the service that they got, but they will remember the experience, the feeling they had when they were working with you. And
what'd you call that book?
It's Unreasonable Hospitality, from Will Guidara. He was one of the founders of 11 Madison Park. The restaurant, a 3-star Michelin restaurant in New York. But yeah, the book is fantastic. It's all about elevating that customer experience and really making your customer feel, special and having them, just going beyond just the typical service.
Yeah. I've got it right here. I'm going to just look at that. I'll have it tonight. Isn't that amazing? I just bought it.
It's a really good book I do a lot of audiobooks. That's how I digest a lot of my books, because I can do it while I'm driving or something like that. But it's a really good audiobook.
Just bought the real book, but I'll try to do the audiobook too. Who knows? Thank you for that. That's awesome. So in closing, here's what I hear. So the circuits of success are your attitude, your attitude, your beliefs, your actions that ultimately get you the results you want in your life. And that's, always when I do my talks, like, who wants to be successful? Well, obviously, if you're going to talk, everybody wants to be successful. But what I hear is your actions, right? One attitude is, I believe it's going to happen. So that's your belief. Just don't say no, say yes, figure it out. But your action, you just take action. So when you think about that and you hear the word action, talk to our listeners about why that's so damn important, and you just got to take action.
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing's going to happen if you don't take action, right? So, it's the.
But
what is it?
Let me interrupt. But there's a lot of people that have the idea.
Right?
There's a lot of people that have the idea, but don't take the action because they're fearful.
Right, they're fearful of where they are right now, but nothing moves if you don't move, right? The ball doesn't move if another ball doesn't hit it. So energy needs to be transferred. So, I mean, unless you're supremely happy with exactly where you are in your life and business, then you got to take action. And a lot of stuff we've tried over the years didn't work. I mean, started 7. I was going to say 6, 7. My kids would have died. But 6, 7 different 7 and 8. Oh my gosh, 6 or 7 different 7 and 8 figure companies. But a lot of them went through real ups and downs. A lot of stuff we tried didn't work, but you never know what's going to work or stick unless you do try it. And so taking those risks, I mean, you talk to any entrepreneur and they're going to tell you the same thing. It was a lot of it was trial and error, and you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. And just believing, if you see something and you see an opportunity and you think you can, solve that problem, then go for it. And, if it doesn't work out, I bet you've learned a lot, about how you can solve the next problem even better. And a lot of what we've done too, I mean, like, right now we do a lot of our revenue. Most of our revenue comes from ghostwriting. But that was never the initial service. We were just editing all kinds of different things, resumes, people's, we started doing books because it came to us, but it was not something that we sought out. But once we started doing it and realizing the value there, then we just jumped on it. We jumped on the opportunity and really scaled it. And then even ghostwriting, that didn't come for like a year or two after that. It wasn't even on the radar. It wasn't on the vision board. It was just, an author said, hey, the author came to us with a book that was in such shambles that we said we couldn't edit it. So they said, well, can you just write me a new one? And, again, we had never written a book before. I just said, yeah, sure, we can do that. And then I got on the phone and started calling everybody. Have you ever written a book? Can you write a book? Can you write on this topic? And eventually I found someone to do it. And, and then, 8 years later, we're doing hundreds every year. And it's so it's just, it's all about just finding those opportunities, jumping on them. If you can solve the problem, do your best to do it. And then just, our kind of, a big part of our vision is just always do it as best as we can and just always think about ways to do it better. And, you can always, I mean, I don't know if this works for every industry, but you can always charge more, right? I mean, Four Seasons, you just mentioned, it's one of my favorite properties. I love the Four Seasons. And, you can just see how they operate. They're focused on finding the best properties and the best locations that have historical value and providing the best service with the best restaurant in the area that's going to have that's going to always be emblematic of the area. You're not going to have an Italian restaurant in the middle of Madrid at a Four Seasons. It's going to be an awesome Spanish restaurant. And that Four Seasons in Madrid is a fantastic property, by the way. But, they're always trying to elevate and just provide the very best in service and experience for their clients. And, and that just comes from getting in there and figuring it out and always just being willing to, like, if you can see some way that you can be better, some way that you can provide a better service, integrate that and then elevate your pricing so that you can afford it. Right. So that was how we have always operated, is just, how can we give the very best and what do we need to charge? And, someone will be out there that'll want the very best, and they'll be willing to pay for it. Absolutely.
Kevin Anderson, thank you so much for your time, my friend. Where can people find you?
You can find me at www.kawriting.com. That's Kevin Anderson, K-A writing, like writing a book.com. Okay. And then the villa in Italy is Poggio alla Corti. Poggio, P-O-G-G-I-O. Alla is A-L-L-E, and then Corti is C-O-R-T-I. But yeah, if you look up exclusive private villa in Tuscany, you should be able to find it.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks, Kevin, so much for being with us on the Circuit of Success, man. I enjoyed the conversation.
Pleasure. Take care.